Hey, what's up, universe? It's 9:21 a.m. on Sunday, August 13th, 2023. So I actually don't need to be buckled up, I guess. Been sitting here for a minute. Sorry about that. So yeah, the stuff in Hawaii is pretty messed up. And I've been posting a lot of stuff on my story, and I've been saving these videos as well, because these things, have a funny way of disappearing from time to time. And I ran into that too when I was doing research back a long time ago. The stuff they don't want you to know, they have a funny way of removing. And so, like, the last thing that I put on my story was a guy reading. He didn't show a source or anything, and so I put it there because it correlates with what somebody who is local was talking about, and it's regarding the children. So in this last post on my story, whoever the source was saying that they had canceled schools, so there was a lot of kids at home, parents were at work. So a lot of the deaths that the number is being completely underreported. And then those who will be among the fatalities are likely going to be quite a few children. And that's what one of the locals was saying too, is that there's a lot of children that were at home. And so I just found the two things to be supportive of each other. One thing that I found interesting too, and this again just kind of comes from researching stuff back like a number of years ago. There's some videos that I've run across now where they look a little bit more polished. Like they still look like local people, but they're like not news story quality. Yet they are still a little. They don't have the authenticity that they're not like this. They're not just like a video where just like some person comes on and they're just like, there's no script, there's no prep, there's like, just people talking about their experiences. So I ran into one of these videos and a guy was like, hey, if you're looking to send help, we don't really need any other supplies other than like maybe generators. And he specifically called out solar panels and the connectors for the solar panels. And it just struck me as interesting because one of the theories that's going on with this is that they're going to rebuild, they call them the 15-minute cities, right? The smart cities. And then there's stuff to support this as well, as far as like the, how do I want to say, I don't know if there's summits or gatherings, right? Like there's meetings. They had them last year, and then they have another one coming up here in September in Hawaii for talking about these things. And then it's just curious that this land that people have wanted, I say like corporate interests have wanted to develop, or have not been available to develop on. And then now that this land has been decimated, it has to be redeveloped. So it's just curious that there's those summits and meetings coming up. Anyway, part of that is having like solar power and all of that. So I just found it really curious that this person, that it didn't feel like just off the cuff, like, hey, I'm a local, like, here's what we need. Just specifically calling out like solar panels and like these types of connections. It just kind of brought something up for me. Because there's other locals where they're like, we need everything. Like, we need everything. And then there's also just reports about how supplies are not being able to get to the locals. Now, if you work with like directly with like local support people, like that has a better chance than if you go through like Red Cross and FEMA. And then there's, of course, reports about Red Cross and FEMA making it difficult for local people to support each other. And so all of that's just a very, very curious thing. And again, I just always have to go back just because I think it's it's not really funny, but it to me, it's like government foreshadowing, where, Reagan was like the eight scariest words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help. And it's like, Yeah. The local people just not being able to help each other, and that's not my speculation. This is what local people are talking about, and that's obviously more than messed up. And the whole kid thing, obviously, is really messed up. And at the same time, it plays, in my mind, it plays into, how all of these reports, and this was in from my research back when I was doing stuff, and then turn into Jurassic Park. They'll do something, man. They've totally ruined an indigenous historical place, and I don't even know, just because I haven't been there, but from what I could just feel it from when people are talking about it. The whole kid thing, though, just to go into, like, there's a long history, and this goes into this can go a lot of different directions, but there's just a long history with, like, those in power and the history of human trafficking. Like, The Sound of Freedom talks about this, and that's why that particular film has been squelched and had weird things happen. It took a long time to find anybody to distribute that film, and then once it got to the theaters, there's weird reports about and videos of people trying to watch that movie where they leave the lights on. Like, the theater doesn't turn the lights off, they'll turn the AC off so it becomes really warm in the theater. They'll have, like, disruptions with the film and be like, like, something happened, so, like, you're gonna have to come back and watch it. Just weird stuff with this. And you got stuff like Oprah Winfrey, like, is on, in Maui, and her real estate, like, was completely untouched. And then you've got stuff with all of her ties, like, what is it? John of God, I think, down in Brazil. And then, like, you've got the Epstein connection, and then, like, Weinstein. Like, you've got all of these people that are, and there's just documented connections, and it's kids play an energetic role in all of this. And so to have kids home and then unable to be evacuated, and then it hasn't been reported yet, but one local said there was a lot of kids. I think it's not a coincidence, is what I'm trying to get at. It's pretty messed up. And then two, like, Hawaii is part of the United States, and where's our reporting? Where's our where's our funds going? At the same time this is going on, we're asking for we're not asking. The president is asking for more funds to fund Ukraine, and it's like, it always seems like we have enough stuff going on in our own backyard that we're always, where's the attention, where's the focus? There's just a real disconnect between, I don't know, between interests, between the interest of the people and the interest of the power structure. And it's just grossly apparent, I think, and the world knows it, and I think there's a growing section of the population that's becoming aware of that, and it's just very discordant, and everything has a resonance frequency, everything, which means that it'll break apart, and I don't know, it's weird stuff. I'm saving myself from, like, kind of going down a lot of different rabbit holes, but it's weird, and there's just a whole lot that isn't right about that and what's going on over there. It smells really fishy for a lot of reasons. So I didn't feel like I quite spoke to it at quite the length that I wanted to in my previous video. So I'll go ahead and wrap this up. And again, of course, don't take what I say, at face value. Go ahead and do your own research. And like I say, it's always through my experience of researching this stuff, going directly to the horse's mouth, bypass mainstream media as much as you can, because you're never going to get the full story. Even if you go to, like, local news sources, like, that's really interesting information can come out when you go directly to where things are happening. Even if it's a local newspaper, local news, like, not a mainstream media outlet from, like, something that's national or highly syndicated. Just stuff that can make you scratch your head is all I'm saying. So if you're interested, check it out yourself. And then with the whole speculation about direct energy weapons, that's not like a fantasy. Like, that stuff's been developed. It's a real thing. It's a weapon of war. I believe, if I heard right, I believe Turkey was probably the first country that actually employed such a weapon in a military fashion. But it's been around since like 2013. And, they've got them mounted on vehicles. You can put them on satellites. Like, you could probably put it on ground forces if you wanted to, like individuals. I don't know, but it's not some conspiracy fantasy thing. It's a legit weapon of war. So just because we haven't necessarily seen it that way doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. But you can go find it. That's completely out there. So it is really weird to me, again, just take a look at those cars, like engine blocks. Like, did you see the front of some of those cars? Are you serious? And then just the way some of the structures were, like, completely leveled. To burn vehicles at that kind of heat, there wasn't enough, like, fuel, so to speak, not enough trees to get the fire that hot to destroy cars that weren't near enough fuel to cause that kind of damage. It's not that, a natural wildfire couldn't burn up a car. It totally could. I'm just saying, just take a look at the kind of damage and just intuitively feel into that. I would really love to hear, like, other first responders' takes on that. You know what I mean? I don't know if we'll ever, get that kind of analysis, but it doesn't seem right to me. Something's not right. So anyway, thanks again for being here. Thanks for giving me some time and space. All right, I love you guys. I'll talk to you later. Bye.